bass in various ways. So yesterday on the way home from work, I made a video, or so I thought. Jesus Christ. Apparently my phone decided to stop it at 3 seconds, so I had a 10-minute conversation and it was 3 seconds of it and I didn't notice it. Anyway, I want to talk about hook size on Texas rigs and weights. So there's lots of competing theories as to what to use and why. And for me personally, I use the lightest weight I can get away with. So with the regular ponds, I usually don't go above a 1/4 ounce unless I'm casting really far, and then I'll go up to like a 3/16 or a half. I have all the way up to 1 ounce tungstens now. By the way, way better in bulk for tungsten. So as far as going Texas rig for punching or any of that, I'm going to stick with tungsten. And with the heavier line, I'll tend to lose less weights, so I won't have to go and buy them as often. So to me, it's an okay piece of advice to myself to just use tungsten. The cost is relatively better these days than it used to be. There's more and more companies that are making tungsten. So I really don't have a problem with spending the money. And honestly, the thing they say about for more feel with tungsten is actually fairly true. The density of the material it's made from tends to transmit vibration very well. I always thought it was BS, but after using it with Texas rig stuff, it's proven itself. I never really noticed much of a difference with drop shot, so I've stuck with lead with the drop shot weights. As far as hooks go, I come from a multi-species background when it comes to fishing. So, I've gone for trout plenty in my life, and literally everything that I've thrown for trout has had tiny hooks. Now, if you ever have trout fished, trout have pretty hard mouths for the most part, and they can get pretty fucking big, and they're very strong fish for their size. So it's very rare still to lose a trout on that size hook. Excuse me. Despite being so small, and the only ones I've seen trout come off, and even then was not that much, was barbless hooks. So I took that mindset of the smaller hooks to bass fishing. So all my drop shot and my Ned heads and all that stuff have been very small. I go as lighter weight and as small as possible, and it's garnered excellent results. So I figured, well, let's try that out in my flukes. So I took 3/0 and 4/0 on my flukes, and it's worked brilliantly. I still get just a good hookup ratio, and I think actually retention better because there's less hook material to get a bass's mouth to flop around on and be loose. I think they're more pinned when there's a smaller hook involved. So I've done that with Texas rig. I do not go above 4/0. I don't do it. I've got 1/0, I've got 2/0, I've got 3/0, and I've got 4/0. I mostly use 4/0 because to me, I'd like to be still in a somewhat decent sized hook range, but not too big. So I won't go above 4/0. And 4/0 is that median size range for the punching and flipping baits that I'm using, because some of them have pretty flat bodies, but some of them have fairly bulbous round bodies, and I need just that little bit of extra hook to go all the way through and be text post. I will say this: bass, the ferocity for which they hit soft plastics does not inhibit the action of a hook if it's smaller. It will still get in the mouth just fine. And I was running traditional Texas rig for a while with no stop rubber piece, no bobber stopper, and it really didn't work well. So I said, okay, well, I need to try this bobber stopper thing that everybody does. So I tried one, and I saw that it depending on how far and how hard you cast, it had a tendency to still ride up the line. So I went to 2. I haven't had a problem since. So now I understand why they do 2. I'd heard it said, but I'm one of those guys that I got to kind of see it to believe it sometimes. Go figure. There is a podcast video where Frank Scalish, who's a retired tournament angler who works for LureNet, that makes like the bomber crankbaits and quite a few other things. He does a lot of their colors for them on their crankbaits. Phenomenal brain when it comes to fishing, and he talks about this. So it's a newer video talking about Texas rigs and details. Well, on day 4 with Frank Scalish, which is the name of the podcast, it's under Tackle Talk. They always fuck around for about 20 minutes out of the show talking about just random shit. And you can get information out of that too. But what he talks about with Texas rig, it all makes sense. Now, no matter what size hook I use with Texas rig, depending on the thickness of the bait is going to dictate whether I do a straight shank or a offset. I do not do EWGs ever. I don't want that stick out factor from the hook. Another reason that I stay small size, and I'll do a offset, but not a wide gap offset. I think that they have the more capacity to lose fish and get stuck in weeds, even if they're weedless, because there's more exposed hook to get stuck in shit. So that's just kind of my 2 cents. I meant to say something yesterday, and unfortunately my phone cut the video short. So maybe that can give you a perspective that you don't already have. And happy hunting for the bass.